Hello, and thank you for joining me for another update to the revolutionary cycle we are now in the United States. It's actually global, but let's just focus on the United States because we have only so much time. Yes, we are in a revolutionary cycle. We are in a civil war cycle, and it's getting more and more exciting. I'll be using the Socrates quantum computer system as a predictive source to show us where we are right now in that cycle, because it is moving and it's moving fast. It is a train bearing down on us. And this is the gentleman who created that quantum computer system that shows us the trends around the world. It's Mr. Martin Armstrong of Armstrong Economics. This is a poster of a movie about him and his life and how he was thrown in jail for not just 1 year, not just 2 years, but for 12 years for contempt of court, because Goldman Sachs wanted Martin Armstrong's Socrates quantum computer systems source code. They wanted it. He wasn't going to sell it. He wasn't going to give it to him. So they put him in jail. Yes, Goldman Sachs put him in jail. Now you should be asking, wait a minute, Goldman Sachs is not a law enforcement organization. But when an outfit like Goldman Sachs owns the DOJ, yes, they can, and yes, they do. And they had Martin Armstrong in jail for 12 years. Anyway, here's a movie about him, the forecaster. Because his quantum computer system has a 90 to 100% accuracy rate in predicting trends of all types. We'll get to my cheat sheet so you can see those. Well, they wanted to kill him, and they did try, and the movie was made, The Forecaster. This movie was made by a German production film company, not by Hollywood, because Hollywood would not touch it, because Hollywood is owned by the career politicians in DC. So we will dive into that and look at Martin Armstrong's daily blog. Hi, I'm JJ from Paranormal Talks, paranormaltalks.com. And let me just quickly show you our website before we jump into the Armstrong Economics blog, and the one that pertains particularly to the revolutionary cycle that we are in now. Here we go. Here's our website. If you want to know more about me, you just go to the About Us and scroll down, and you can read all about me. Okay. I have posted in the past, starting in May of 2019, these predictive videos, and these are the basis of the updates I've been doing ever since May of 2019. Here's the first one I did of the Socrates quantum computer system, A Disturbing Future. And then I did 6 more, pulling from other very highly accurate predictive sites. Let's make these go away. All right. I want to give you a little bit of background before we start reading this blog. Let's take a look at the cheat sheet I have on this, because it's broader than you would think. We are in 3 major cycles. They are in play right now. Astrologically, I pull from an astrological methodology as well, and that has an 80% accuracy rate, and it has thousands of years of a track record. Where the Socrates quantum computer system, it has decades of a track record. Anyway, this computer system, it predicts trends. And what do you mean by trends? Well, trends such as the stock market, equities trends, economic trends, political trends, business trends, sports trends. Sports, are they popular or are they not so popular? How are the sales of box office tickets and other types of game tickets going? That has a trend. And by the way, if it's going down with sports, it's not so good for the economy and the society at large, by the way. Also, geotectonic trends, weather trends, and specific individuals, the trends in their life, such as Bill Gates. Bill Gates is going down. He's reached the peak of one of his six cycle pattern. Also specific business trends. Microsoft will not be with us beyond the year 2032. Let's scroll down a little bit. And then I pull from astrology, and I blah, blah about that. You can read this at your leisure. If you want to pause the video, I want to show you the 3 cycles that are in play right now. The astrological movements and cycles, the timing of those are very similar, and they match very closely to the trends shown in the Socrates quantum computer system. And they are big, and these are what they are. I use the astrological language because astrology does have a language. Medicine does have a language. Law does have a language. Science does have a language. Physics has a language. Well, astrology also has a language. So these 3 trends, big ones that are in play right now with Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn. And what that means is the Second American Civil War. That's in play right now. And these are the dates where we last saw this trend peak, was in 1861. And then Pluto in the constellation sign Capricorn. And that is a destruction and rebirth of our government and institutions, such as our public school systems, which seem to be going away. We're teaching our children at home now, whether we like it or not, via the internet and also one-on-one. And the last one, Uranus in Taurus, that is a financial reset, which this virus is not a virus, it is fake. The lockdown is a global lockdown, and you can see the dates here. The last time we had that, which was during the Great Depression. It was the Great Depression. Well, it is back. And this is all the stuff that happens. Now I'm going to give you some baseline, some background before we begin looking at the blog updates that Martin has shown us. These are the economic trends here. And this one's very broad. You can see here, this is the full pattern. It begins in 1882 and it goes to 1929. There are 6 phases within each one of these large patterns. And each phase is 8.6 years. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there's a big blowout. And a lot more excitement happens at these blowouts. And we have the Great Depression. So that's one view, and we'll be looking at that. And then another one is generated here, and this is from 1970 to 2084. So you really know what's coming up for you. And as far as this chart, this goes, you see this divot right down here? I don't know if you can see my cursor. Anyway, this is the year 2020. This is where we are right now. So we have 1 and 2 more cycles before we blow out in the year 2032. This is very significant, the year 2032. Okay, wanted to show you that. What's next? Let's look at the websites. At the Armstrong Economics sites. I want to give you, we're looking at this posting because I want to give you some background, the breadth and the scope of information that Martin Armstrong receives around the world. It's not just the United States. It's not just this little town in America, or just the nation of America, or just Canada or America. No, it is global. And the people he talks with and deals with is amazing. He takes questions and he answers them and posts them on his blog. So this one I just want to show you. This is behind the curtain with the fake virus. And this is one of his readers. I had real trouble understanding why you were suggesting this virus was a hoax in January of 2020. I could not match it with the facts I had available on fake news then, and I thought that you had lost it. That is, you were crazy. I mean, the virus is real. It's going to kill everyone. And Martin was saying, no, it's fake. So this reader thought that Martin was nuts, was insane. So it stressed him out. And he said that his insights only turned when finally the Italian, the country of Italy, they put out their statistics on the virus, confirming what Martin Armstrong had already suggested, that this virus was only taking down, that is killing old-aged people and people with specific health issues, which means the old people were already comorbid. That means they already had diabetes, or they already had cancer, or they already had emphysema, or they already had some other disease that was killing them. And then they got this virus on top of it. So they would die anyway because their immune system is hugely compromised. So whatever virus comes along will get people whose immune system is not as robust as we would like. So this is Martin's reply. And this is absolutely true about Martin Armstrong. He says, Martin says, I have perhaps the best contacts than anyone can imagine. Sometimes my contacts extend even beyond the capabilities of intelligence agencies like the FBI, like the CIA, like the NSA, like any other spook shop that the United States or any country has, MI6. He has far greater capabilities of information than those government agencies. Lady Margaret Thatcher, who Martin Armstrong was a friend of Margaret Thatcher, had once asked him what he knew about a secret installation being constructed underground in Russia. She knew the extent of Martin Armstrong's contacts, and he was able to give her that accurate information. So what has emerged over the decades is that our clients come together from around the world with common bond, a global thinking process. At our World Economic Conferences, they have become more like an annual university class reunion. It is hard to explain. People come from all continents and countries. They come together in a real United Nations type of setting. But these attendees to this economic conference are motivated by personal survival rather than politics. By the way, I attended one of these World Economic Conferences that Martin Armstrong delivers, usually in Orlando, Florida, since Martin lives in Florida, and then he has them in other places alternately around the world, in Germany and Singapore and other places, depending if they're not rioting and killing people in the street. So I attended one of those, and I met Martin Armstrong, and I saw the attendees, and it is the United Nations. All the languages that are flying around in the room during cocktail parties, and during breaks and during breakfast, it's just amazing. People from all over Europe and Asia, they show up. It is a United Nation. People from all over. And these guys from Europe, wow, are they tall? They're really, really tall. And they speak a language. So that is some background on that. Now, I want to read to you the posting that gives you the insight as to the revolution we are in now, the revolutionary cycle. And he titles this on his ArmstrongEconomics.com blog website is Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. They are trying to make us socialists after all. The socialist form of government is the biggest killer of citizens that you can ever find. Socialism and communism, those two, they take the prize as far as killing their populations. So let's read this. As we head into the end of this 51.6 year cycle, and you can see the graph here, this is a 51.6 year cycle, which it's scary. It's good to know where you are in this cycle so you can be prepared psychologically and emotionally. That's what we like to do here at Paranormal Talks, is prepare you psychologically. That's 70% of the battle, and coming through this with flying colors and coming out healthy and rich. So this cycle peaks in 2032. I have warned that historically, this is when we get the most tyrannical moves on the part of governments. Now, why do we get the biggest moves of tyrannical behavior with these lockdowns and these controls and these chippings and these forced vaccinations and destruction of the economy, et cetera? Why? Why does that happen at the end of a 51.6-year cycle of governments? That's because it is the blowout and the end of a socialist communist government cycle. It is the end, which means they're dying, which means they're going down, which means they have no street cred anymore. They're dying. And when they're dying, they fight like hell to stay alive. If you were in the corner, if you were backed into a corner with knives coming at you, you would fight too for your lives. But with the government, it's not going to work. So they're going down. That's why they become so much more vicious and aggressive. They are losing power in a private wave, and particularly it's a private wave. And as such, they become very aggressive. This is what this aggressiveness of tyrannical governments, of the death of socialism, this is what supercharges markets during the last 2 8.6-year waves. So everything is on schedule. Everything is right on time, you guys. This is not a black swan. We knew this was coming since 1970. From that earlier chart I showed you. You can just back up this video and look at that. We knew this was coming. This is not a surprise. No such thing as black swans. These things are cycles. If they say it's a black swan, that means they're not very bright and they're not paying attention to cycles that come and go with or without us. Note that the wave which peaked in 1929 was also a private wave. Oh, so this is a private wave. It's not a public wave. A public wave is government. That's when the government is the hero and everyone loves them and everyone works for the government and everyone obeys the government. But in a private wave, so it's a bit more lively, more violence, more rioting. Note that the wave which peaked in 1929 was also a private wave. Adolf Hitler was found guilty of treason and sentenced to 5 years in Landsberg prison, where he dedicated Mein Kampf, his new best-selling book, to his fellow prisoners, Emil Maurice and Rudolf Hess. On December 20th, 1924, where is that date? 1924. Having served only 9 months, Hitler was released. This came during the last 2 waves and was the rise in rioting in Europe. The rise in socialism in the United States came at the midpoint of this private wave. And you can see this red marking. Teddy Roosevelt is elected in 1904, and this is the birth of socialism in the United States. If you didn't know that, if Teddy was your hero, that was the deal. So that was the United States. And then here's a photo. Here's a historical photo of the Nazis censoring their citizens by burning books. Yeah, we don't want people to be informed now, do we? You just believe the narrative. Believe the fantasy story and all will be well. Remember, cattle are always taken to the slaughter. We are facing what I call a very dangerous corporate political fascist future. The Nazis burned books to prevent people from disagreeing or becoming informed with their philosophy, the Nazi philosophy. Here we have YouTube, Facebook, and other social media removing anything that also disagrees with their philosophy. CNN refuses to accept advertisements from Trump just out of sheer tyrannical hatred. This is all the very same fascist state of mind and behavior. Yet what I find really amazing, these people call Trump a fascist. When they are behaving, you have proof in your face with the censoring. Censoring is fascist behavior, if you didn't know that. Burning books and censoring people on YouTube and Facebook is fascism. It has been the actions of CNN, YouTube, and others that are suppressing free speech in the very same identical manner as the Nazi movement did in the 1930s. Granted, their goals may not be to create some Aryan race, but supporting Bill Gates, who believed in reducing the world population indiscriminately to save the planet, his planet, not yours, not mine, but his planet, is not exactly pro-humanity or philanthropic. It's not very nice. With the corporations lining up to help create contact tracing applications, that is, if you tested positive for the virus, anyone that you have contact with also gets traced, which winds up to be everyone when it's all said and done. Just ask the Chinese. That's what they're doing in China. Now, contact tracing apps, they go on your smartphone that you get to pay for, and they use your money and your device to trace you to keep you safe. For this pretend global health threat, the fake virus, which is less than 0.1%, we are entering into a diabolical partnership where our future is being threatened, and that of our families, by a new type of corporate political fascism that has existed before, but not on such a grand scale. This is what happens as this type of government style, socialism and communism. This is when we begin to notice it, because they become more aggressive and it's in our face and it interferes with our freedom in our lives. Hitler's 1,000-year Reich lasted only 12 years before getting destroyed. Psychically, they will also find this last 12-year interval into 2032 their own well-deserved destruction. It does not appear that CNN will still exist after 2032. Now, why do you think CNN, probably as a broadcast news outlet, will not last beyond 2032? That's because the CIA will also be destroyed, and CNN is the mouthpiece of the CIA, the propaganda press. Now you know. They have sealed their own fate. CNN is just one example that Socrates, the quantum computer system, does not see as a long-term viable company. Still, Germany was one of the world's leading economies back during the Nazi era, which meant that many companies were more than happy to do business with the Nazis. Hugo Boss produced the uniforms for the brown shirts, SS and Hitler Youths. Now, the brown shirts were fascists, little fascist boys wearing a brown uniform. Today in America, they call themselves anti-fascists. They use the same symbolism and flags as the brown shirts and the Hitler Youths, except they wore all black outfits, black jeans, shoes, shirts, black face diapers, and black hats. So they were black today, not brown. Volkswagen was founded by the Nazis, and the Beetle automobile was Hitler's dream car. IBM put its technology at the Nazis' disposal as well. In 2001, a bombshell of a book by Edwin Black entitled IBM and the Holocaust drew on over 20,000 documents secretly hidden in archives in numerous countries to describe a 12-year-old alliance between IBM and the Third Reich, because IBM found that providing their computer systems to track the cattle they killed and harvested in their concentration camps and labor camps. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean the Jews that they harvested in the concentration camps. A computer system is really good at keeping track of all those numbers and all those assets that they extract from the cattle. As for fake news, the Associated Press engaged in self-censorship and hired its German Jew and fired its German Jew staff to placate the Nazis. We have entered that same unholy type of partnership, and this is very unsettling. Some companies just line up gleefully to help tyranny and steal your money and your freedoms and your lives. Because all cattle are taken to the slaughter if you remain a cow. No doubt those in the technology world assisting governments to be able to track every person are too blinded by the money to look beyond that to a new world they are helping to create. This becomes a sad day for our basic human and civil rights. The markets are our only guide. As for the Socrates computer system looks at some of these companies conspiring against people, they do not look to be surviving their own decisions to be naughty boys and girls beyond the year 2022. Now, the year 2022, I've done a previous video on that year 2022, which is the complete and final implosion of the United States government as we know it. Now, that's a prediction per the Socrates computer system, and we want predictions to be precise, do we not? What goes a prediction unless it's accurate, correct? Okay, so let me give you an accurate, precise date, and that date is March 14, 2022, for the implosion of the U.S. government as we know it, and you're already seeing that in play, and also according to Martin's, the Socrates blog here, is these companies will not survive beyond that date either, March of 2022. Now let's look at this, a bit of this historical blah, blah. Let's make it big, make it big. Here we go. Okay, the coming European Revolution. Now, this is to give you some background of it, and this was written in 2016. Martin knows what he's talking about. So if you think he's blown it out his poo-poo, he's not. The coming European Revolution. There's two charts here, and he has both of these charts so you can see the similarity of how they map together. They match up together, which can be a bad thing, but that's how cycles are. Sometimes they match up, sometimes they don't. When they all match up, woo, it's way exciting. Economic confidence model, the 86-year revolutionary cycle. This is what he's showing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This also has 6 cycles within a 51.6-year pattern, okay? And then there's the sovereign debt crisis cycle. Now, sovereign debt, that is simply a country's debt, all the borrowing that they do to pay their pensioners and their food stamps and their welfare and their military stuff and supposedly their infrastructure. I haven't seen it a whole lot yet. When they borrow all this money from citizens in other countries, they never pay it back, ever. They default. That's what 1930 Great Depression was. It was a sovereign debt crisis. They didn't pay back anything. So that's what sovereign debt is. A sovereign country like the United States, like Canada, like Italy, Europe, Greece. Martin Armstrong in January 2016, this is what he wrote. I have warned that 2017 will be the political year from hell because that's when Donald Trump became the new president of the United States. And how did we like that, huh? Yes, that was quite unsettling for the deep state, was it not? What I am illustrating here is the link between a sovereign debt crisis and the revolutionary cycle. They do tend to go together. Because you're fat and happy and paying off your debt, then you probably won't riot. In 1933, Roosevelt came to power in the U.S.A. and turned the country toward socialism, big time. So if you like Roosevelt, oh well. That same year, 1933, brought Hitler and Mao Zedong to power. So 1934 was a revolutionary year. Such revolutions do not always bring blood in the street. However, the next one is due in 2020, and we're here already, 2020, May 2020. And we should see the system we currently live under go completely upside down. Okay. Let's scroll down. Whoa, that's way big. Let's make it smaller. Come on. In January 2016, we published the start of the revolutionary cycle. We warned that this was due right here with the turn of the economic confidence model, January 18, 2020. By the way, astrologically, with those particular planets that I pointed out before, they showed exactly, precisely January 12th of 2020. That was the beginning of the Second American Civil War. That's when that cycle began for America again. And the computer system showed January 18, 2020. Very close, aren't they? Very precise. We should expect the markets to reflect this trend, and this is where Socrates comes into play. It is the only such system monitoring everything and correlating it on a global scale. There is not enough analysts, that is economic analysts or Wall Street analysts, in the entire world to cover all the markets Socrates has been monitoring. And we looked at that previous blog post. Martin Armstrong has contacts you wouldn't believe, far, far greater and deeper than any nation has, any spook shop has in a nation. There are not enough in the entire world to cover all the markets Socrates has been monitoring. This will be the only tool to identify where to turn to and where to run away from, even on a company by company basis. This is not my personal opinion. This is not Mr. Armstrong's personal opinion. No, it's not. It's the computer's trends that it just splits out. It's just the numbers, man. Nothing personal, just the numbers. There is no human intervention in writing any of these quantum computer reports on over 1,000 instruments every day. So while there are corporations eager to assist in the destruction of our way of life here in America and elsewhere, joining the trend of fake news and corporate political fascism partnership, Socrates quantum computer system is the counter-trend technology to expose their corruption and their destruction, which looks like comes after, for sure, either 2022 or 2023. So there's not much time left for these huge, massive corporations. And we're hearing that from other sources as well, such as Cliff High's Alta reports that you can read on Realist News, Realist News reads to you. So we're getting this from many places. It's been picked up, but this 90 to 100% accuracy. So this is very exciting. So I hope this has given you some information to further give you a higher level view. We have about 12 years now to the year 2032 for all of this to fall out, including the economic crisis we're in now. So there are some real key dates: 2022, 2024, and 2032. That's when the fat lady sings for this particular cycle. So gird your loins. We're in for a wild ride. So this is Paranormal Talks, and I'm JJ, and I'll be talking to you later. Take care. Bye.